Hello. Welcome to my video that I am making today. Today we are going to be talking about eyebrows. Eyebrows are one of my absolute favorite features of the face. For those of you who don't know, I am a licensed esthetician and I focus primarily on brow styling and shaping. It weighs heavy on my heart. As you can see, I don't really have that much eyebrow hair myself. I don't really have an arch on either side of my brow. It is what it is. It's always been this way. I just wasn't one of those people blessed with gorgeous, thick brows. So I've had to draw mine on for years. I've been styling my own brows now for about 10 years. I started when I was about 12, so about 11 years or so, and I have used probably every single product you could imagine, cosmetic and non-cosmetic. I used to use Sharpie on my brow, believe that, yes. But I'm just gonna walk you guys through some of the products that I personally use. I'm going to kind of walk you through the process of how I personally style the brow in the morning. I don't want you to think like right off top that it's going to be quick and easy for you. I've been doing this for a long time, so I can do my brows in about 10 minutes. I'll kind of just walk you through it all and go from there. But if you have any questions, any concerns, wanting to know any more information about the products that I'm using or about the services that I personally provide, you are more than welcome to leave a comment below in the comment section. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so when we are starting with the brow, I personally don't use foundation. I am more of a tinted moisturizer girl. So I personally use Sephora Collection. This is the Matte Perfection Tinted Moisturizer. I have an oily skin type, so that's amazing. You can kind of see the coverage. It's very effortless. Nothing too intense. I always put my tinted moisturizer on. My skincare is always before any of my makeup. Make sure you take care of your skin. Skin comes first, especially sunscreen right now. The sun is intense. After I apply my tinted moisturizer, I go in with Mercier. It's just a loose setting powder. What I like to do, because I don't have that much hair, I personally put a little bit of loose setting powder to give the area a little bit of texture. Just because sometimes with like an oily skin type, I personally have experienced places where there isn't hair on a very hot day where it's humid, you're sweating, the oil production is crazy, and then like the color of my eyebrow pencil or whatever product I'm using starts to blotch and it just looks very unneat and clean. So I've come to find that putting some type of like a powder to give a little bit of like texture for that product to sit on, it really helps. So after my loose setting powder, I go back in and not a lot of people do this, okay? Don't judge. But my favorite primer is just Elmers Glue stick. It's a trick that I learned in school, and it is always something that I have stayed with. Now, you have other brow primers that are amazing, like the Patrick Ta. He just came out with a lamination brow gel. Amazing consistency, and it really makes it look like your brows are laminated. And then there's also my personal favorite, the Anastasia Brow Freeze. That one I use on my clients all the time, and that one is effortless. So if you're looking for a product that's going to be able to give you a nice hold without going as intense as a glue stick, then I would definitely recommend checking out Anastasia because she has a great brow line. And so I just work the glue stick into the brow. I make sure that all of the brow hairs are set and in place. The glue stick, it is going to be something that has a very strong hold, but it's a flexible hold. It's not like you would just put glue on your brows. Like, it's very light, it's very effortless. And so after that, we put on the loose setting powder, and then we put on our primer. And then after that, I do have my two favorite brow pencils that I'm currently using. The brand, I'm not sure if you can see it, this one is Refy or Refy. I'm still not sure about that one, but I call it Refy. It's an amazing brow pencil, and I just love the application. It's very consistent. It comes out, the pigment is very clean. And then my personal favorite, this one is Huda Beauty, and it is going to be the fine point eyebrow pencil. This guy is probably one of the thinnest eyebrow pencils that I have seen to date. I'm not sure if you can see how thin that is. It can be very finicky. I've had a lot of clients come back saying that it does take some time to get down, but if you're really looking to just kind of fill in your brow with a little bit more hair-like consistency, this one is definitely going to be one of my favorites. So I start off with Refy. This guy's a little bit thicker, but he's still going to be a fine point consistency, which I always prefer a fine point. It just gives you a little bit more accuracy while you're working. And I do hair-like strokes, and I map out the under arch of my brow on both sides first. I've come to realize that you can kind of do whatever you want with the top of your brow hair. Very thick, full, laminated brows, or like the feathered brows are very in right now. But having a very, very sharp, crisp under arch is going to not only lift the entire eye area, but it's just gonna be able to give you more definition in your entire facial structure anyway. So you can kind of see how I started it. I do individual hair-like strokes, and then I have it combined. I start the under arch filling right here. And I create where my arch is gonna be. After I create where the arch is gonna be, I just follow through with the hair strokes that I have created already. Right there. And so this is kind of the base outline of how it starts. So this is probably one of the biggest pieces of advice that I could give. I wish I learned it much earlier before I started doing my brows. Point bracing. So generally you always use your finger, and you can double brace as well. I always put my elbow on some type of a surface, and then I go in with my pinky as well. And so I put my pinky right there. You have all of the stability that you need to create those fine lines. And so you can start up here, you can go over here. This pinky is gonna give you the ability to not have your hands shake. I've had very like sloppy brows that I used to do because my hands were just all over the place. And I see a lot of clients start off their brows like this. And it's kind of just winging it. There's no control. And so just going from having this to a brace is what's really gonna be able to take your brow game to the next level. Mainly of just like accuracy and cleanliness, you know? But the thing is, if you are right-handed, which I am, you're gonna have your pinky right here. You swap over onto the other side. And so that's just gonna be this guy right here. And then I go back in and I create the same lines on the opposite side. So we got the lines, and then I go in and connect the under arch. Once the under arch is there, follow through. But you can see how that pinky is just giving everything more stable. That's how I personally achieve the more symmetrical aspect of the brow. So after we have the entire layout, you can see that I went ahead and I did the under arch and the base layer of the hair-like strokes. And so I like to add a little bit more depth. It's almost like an ombre. I start from the bottom of the under arch, so I start right here. I'm gonna go in and kind of powder fill with the same pencil, and you just kind of take them, and it's going in the same direction of the hair that you drew, and we're just filling them in a little bit. I'm doing it very lightly and almost at an angle with my brow brush, so you can see which one is going to be the more filled. It's very soft. It's kind of just like part two. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the opposite side, starting at the base of the under arch and slightly filling in the entire area, giving it a little bit more depth. So you can see, me personally, I don't really focus that much on the top part. I don't like to be the one who closes it off, which I used to. Like, it just depends on the vibe of the brow style that you're going for. I just personally like to have a little bit more open on the top part of my brow. You're more than welcome to draw if you really like that more micro shaded filled in brow with like a powder or a pomade. It looks gorgeous, especially if you underline it with like a concealer or a brow highlighter. Just your preference. But I'm going in with the Huda. So this is what's going to give you a little bit more of that dimension in your brow. I'm kind of just retracing my steps, but adding more of a flare. It's smaller, so it's gonna look a little bit more defined. Compared to part two on the left side, you can just see a little bit more of like a, I like to call it like a fluffy consistency. But after we fill in this, I'm gonna go ahead and swap over and do it on the opposite side. So we really got a little bit more filled in. I like to focus on the top, and I make the Huda pencil kind of stick out a little bit further than the original Refy. And so it kind of just adds a little bit more of that feathered consistency, which I like. After the two pencils, we go in, and I do have the Sephora Collection. It is Make No Mistake, the high coverage concealer. I personally just go in with I'm uncertain of which type of brush this is. I just really like how small it is. I can get really articulate. And so I always add a little bit of that concealer, and I go in underneath the arch of my brow. And this is really what's gonna highlight that arch. I always love a very high defined arch. It took me about 2 years to create it. My eyebrows used to be about an entire like brow lower of what they are now, so I had to train them for a minute. So I kind of just go down to like the mid of my lid, my under eye. Nothing too intense, but you just go ahead and copy it on the other side as well. I personally always love to use a concealer. I like this one in particular just because it is a high coverage. A little goes a long way. I've had this bottle for at least 4 months, and I'm barely just starting to get to like the middle of it. And so the smallest amount is all that you need. You don't necessarily have to use just a concealer. You could use a liquid highlighter, more of like a pearl topped shadow under arch brow highlight, which Benefit has amazing ones. Benefit Cosmetics, I would definitely check them out. So you can always do that, or like even Laura Mercier, they have the eyeshadow line. They're like retractable eyeshadows, and they are called the caviar sticks. Those ones I've used for underneath my arch as well. It gives a very tinted or illuminated glow under the brow, and it's gorgeous. Gorgeous. So as you can see, I'm kind of letting it sit for a second. Not necessarily that I'm trying to bake or anything like that, but I go back in with one of my baby concealer, or not my baby concealer, but beauty blender. And I just like to blend out the entire under arch of the brow. Same thing on the opposite side. Work that into your eyelid, because generally right after I do my brows, I just go back in and I do my eyeshadow as well. And so it kind of adds like a nice little, it's kind of just, it's a win-win situation. So after that, you can kind of see how there is more of a highlight. It does look a little bit more lifted. That's the look that I always like to achieve. After that, I kind of just go back in with the Refy pencil, and I go back and mainly highlight or darken all of the main areas. Clean, crisp, done, and that is how I do my brows. So it's a few just quick and easy, simple steps. You always put on your tinted moisturizer, your foundation, whatever you want to use. You apply that first. For any of my girls who, girls or guys who have an oilier skin type, I personally like to put a setting powder. It could be a loose powder or a pressed powder, just depending on your preference, just to give a little bit of texture so that the product has something that it can sit on, that it can hold on. In this, I don't have to blot it or anything throughout the day. It's very good at staying in its place, especially with that powder. After the powder, you go in and you use your primer. I personally use Elmer's Glue Stick, but you do have the ones from like Anastasia. The Brow Freeze, amazing. The one from Patrick Ta, his new lamination brow gel, amazing. Go check those guys out. After you do the primer, I start off with imitating the hair-like strokes. I always personally like the microbladed feathered look, and so that's what I try to replicate. After the hair-like strokes, I go in and I focus primarily on the under arch of the brow, because that's really what's going to allow the brow to seem lifted. It's going to naturally lift the eyes, and then it's going to give you just a more full rounded look. And after you do the under arch, that's when I really focus on kind of just feathering it out, fluffing it up, making it look a little bit more dimensional or two-dimensional. And then I always underline my under arch with a concealer. I have also seen multiple people, or I know multiple people, who like to conceal around the entire brow to really like give it that contoured, popped look. More than welcome to do that. With just all of like the consistency of like the hair strokes that I do, it would take a long time to look a little too messy. So I personally don't do that, but if you really like to have like more of that full highlight around the entire brow, more than welcome to do that around your entire brow. Those those are just some of my favorite everyday products that I use. The Refy, the Huda pencil, and then Sephora Collection. They do have a fine point pencil that is also amazing that I love. I just ran out of it. Primers are very important. I have a lot of my clients complain that their brow hairs are kind of just going everywhere throughout the day. If you're having that issue, I would recommend using a brow gel or a brow primer. You can get them from Sephora. You can get them from anywhere, honestly. But I already listed some of my favorite brands or products that you could use. After that, you personally can use a setting spray. I just ran out of that one myself. I'm using the Pore-fessional from Benefit. It's a 2-in-1 primer and setting spray. And so after I put on my brow and my shadow, I always go in and I just do like 2 passes, and you just let him dry, you let him do his thing, and then you are good to go. If you guys loved this video, please let me know. If you guys want to see any other videos that I do, you can also leave that in the comment section below. I am super grateful to be able to sit here and talk brows with you beautiful people. Any chance for me to sit down and talk about my passion, I really appreciate it. So thank you for watching. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.